My name is Steve Kwachek, and this is the Eastside Fireman's Chat. It's just a local firefighter podcast, and the intent is really just to connect and share ideas and people's perspectives, and hopefully have a little fun while we're doing it. So I've had the amazing opportunity over the past 20 years or so as a firefighter in Western Pennsylvania to meet some really cool people, whether it was taking classes, going to conferences, teaching courses. I've had a great chance to meet people, networking, you name it. I've met some cool people. And I feel a little responsibility on myself to help share that in some way. So my brain thought it would be a good idea to start this as kind of a forum to, like I said, share ideas, bring people together. I think the one thing that's lacking in the Western Pennsylvania area, the greater Pittsburgh area, is just communication between firefighters. I look around at different events and everybody has their little clique, their little firehouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to like the people you like, but the fact that nobody talks to each other kind of sucks. So maybe if you listen to this, you might hear something from somebody you wouldn't necessarily talk to that makes sense, and maybe it solves a problem for you. So that's really it. On to the name. I mean, people are going to ask, you just said Western Pennsylvania a lot. Why is it called the Eastside Fireman's Chat? Eastside pays a little homage to my friend Hal. And so I work for the Mount Lebanon Fire Department. And if you happen to look at a map of Mount Lebanon, it is divided almost equally in half, east and west, by Route 19. Most of the firefighters live on the east side, and I've had the privilege of living on the east side, and so did Hal. And when I first met him, he had this house that was fantastic, and he had a double lot. And if you know anything about Mount Lebanon, not many people have double lots. And in the back of his double lot was a shed that had electricity run to it, and he had a mini fridge that was always full of beer. And so his rule was, if the shed door was open, the club was open. And so he kind of unofficially named his shed the Eastside Firemen's Club. And we had a great time. A bunch of us that lived over there would frequently visit him and just hang out, drink beers, and talk shop. It was just a great place to go and vent. You know, most times it was firefighting stuff, but I mean, he'll talk to you about anything. I mean, as much as it was important for us as firefighters to communicate and talk, he loved it because as a retired guy, he missed being in the firehouse. He missed the bullshit. He missed the gossip, and we filled him in, you know? So the namesake is, you know, a little homage to him and his shed, but he unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and the house sold and the shed sold with it. So there's a few of us that will try to carry on the tradition and have little meetups here and there, but this is my tribute to Hal. So other than that, that's all you need to know. It's a little amateur. It's just me in my basement, and it's audio only. Maybe we'll get some video cameras someday, but who knows? I've got this good group of people lined up, at least the first 2, 3, 4 people I know very well. I'm very open to meeting other people that want to come on and talk. Just keep this connection alive, and just have fun. We'll drink beer, we'll drink whiskey, whatever you want. Just bring it. We'll drink. You don't have to drink. Tonight I have my first guest, Kokkila. Brian's been a good friend of mine for about 10 years. He's helped me from everything with career development, apparatus specs, you name it. Brian's been a good dude. He's always been there for me. So when it came to having somebody on for the first time, I thought Brian would be a good guest. So bear with us. Like I said, we're amateurs. I don't know what I'm doing. I just killed a couple flies in my basement with a baseball hat about 2 minutes ago, because I knew they were going to drive me nuts if it was going on while I was trying to record. So that's it. Enjoy. And if you have suggestions, just stay positive. Make comments that are helpful, and hope you guys enjoy. All right, so welcome to episode 1 of the Eastside Fireman's Chat. Got with me tonight Brian Kokkila, City of Pittsburgh. Brian, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. And boy, it's a real honor to be invited to your first episode. I I very much appreciate the chance to sit down and talk with you and work through this whole new process of podcasting with you.
Yeah, man, we're just figuring it out as we go. So if you hear weird noises, if my wife brings the kids home and they start stomping around upstairs, bear with us. We're amateur.
We won't sweat it.
Yeah. So where did you start in the fire service? Because I only met you when you were at Peters. Where'd you start at?
Yeah. Well, I started at Moon Run,
Yeah.
volunteer fire company in Robinson Township. And one of the cool parts, the cool parts of the job is when I started there, we only had this little Quonset hut. And everything that went out there, every call was responded to with the first piece being a 72 Dodge Power Wagon with a 4-speed transmission, extra springs because it was overloaded.
Yeah.
And we rode tailboard, right? Which
Did it have a front mount pump on the bumper?
no, it was a mid-mount pump,
Right.
But it was just such a small fire station. There was the mini pumper. There was the first down engine. The second engine, you actually had to back up and then drive around the post to get it out. But when you came in for the call, if it was a car fire or something along those lines, you grabbed the half-hour pack off the wall. If it was a structure fire, you grabbed an hour pack off the wall, and you jumped on the back of the 72 Dodge Power Wagon with what was that, Red Angus rubber hose, and that was the first thing that we went 250 gallons of water, and we're going to go solve all the world's problems with this little truck that could. That was 1995.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was their station the same place it is now? Or
It is. It's in the exact same place, a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And then at some point we bought like a used ambulance because that whole, you probably shouldn't ride on a tailboard thing.
Yeah.
But it was really cool while it lasted.
What got you into it?
So actually in 93, I took an EMT class because at the time I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer, and EMT was kind of like that natural progression or that first level of education. And I got bit. I either thought I was going to be a athletic trainer or a flight nurse, maybe. Those were the kind of two things that got me going.
Yeah.
Boy, nothing against our brethren and sisters in EMS, but the fire service just it sucked me in, and I was gone from there. And realized that it was the right move for me, and it was the right place to be.
Cool, man. Who were some of your mentors growing up? Were there people at Moon Run, or was there anybody else that kind of like you looked up to a lot growing up?
Yeah, I mean, in the fire service specifically, sure. Locally, you have those guys who take you under their wing as a young buck, and kind of show you the ropes in the fire service. Tommy Soma, Dennis Jazadek, Paul Cashmere, those are guys from Moon Run who helped kind of show me the way.
Yeah.
And then from there, as I've evolved, I got a chance to work with a lot of great people, and I think there was some joint mentorship as we were growing up as young kids, and building some great friendships along the way. When I started going to more in-depth school for this, I mean, I think that Bill Anderson, who used to teach at the community college in the fire science programs, really kind of helped to spark that passion for more than just the fire attack, recognizing that there's value in prevention and education and code enforcement to prevent things from happening long before, and really helped me capture that appreciation and knowledge related to building construction, which when you really think about it, he's the guy that introduced me to Frank Brannigan.
Yeah.
Right? The building is your enemy, know your enemy. And that's true study of building construction is what helps you appreciate fire development, fire growth, fire travel. And I think all of us have, whether it's your side job working on some construction or some form of construction, pick up a lot of knowledge from that appreciation and understanding, comprehension of building construction, because that's the spaces we operate in, right? And sure, my time in Peters was more lightweight frame because it was a lot newer community. And now in the city of Pittsburgh, there's a mix, but it's a lot of older stock, heavy timber or more full dimensional lumber.
Yeah.
Construction, right? And a lot of ordinary construction and things that have a tendency to last a little longer under fire development, and including the heavy plasters opposed to lightweight gypsum sheetrock. So,
what was your progression from Moon Run on from there? Because when I met you, you were at Peters as a career guy.
Yeah. So I was working in a machine shop, putting myself through college, and working every side odd job I could find, and had the opportunity to leave my machine trade and go work full time as a fire investigator. I was a road warrior, right? I lived on ladies from the hotel would send you Christmas cards. That's how many times you're there in the same places. So I'd leave on a Sunday night, often get home late on a Friday, and then work part-time I should go back. There was a little period of time there where I worked at Robinson Township as a code enforcement officer. I left that job to go to the fire investigation job, and part-time at Peters Township. So I'd work, I'd leave Sunday night, I'd get home late Friday night, work Saturday, Sunday at Peters, rinse and repeat, right? You're home long enough to do laundry and then hit the road again. That was the grind, and it wore you down, I left that for two things. One, I had an opportunity to go to paramedic school, which led to full-time employment at Peters Township. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. So it was a good opportunity to stop the road warrior work. And at that point, I was working part-time at Peters, part-time at Midway, part-time at McDonald Fire Department. I was doing any odd job I could do. I was doing hazardous materials cleanup, any part-time work I could get to support myself through caring for him and completing paramedic school.
How was medical school?
It was a blur. I honestly can remember. My dad had died in the middle of cardiology, so I was. That's probably one of the toughest parts of medic school. And at the time, I was dating a nurse from the ER, and we actually sat in a bar on the back of a placemat, and she was drawing arrhythmia and helping me prepare to be able to pass that test. Just because, my brain was fried.
Yeah. Cool.
Hopefully not too far off script here.
No, not at all. Not at all. I just kind of like to get a little background. I mean, like I said, I've known you for about 10, 12 years now. We met through our mutual friend, now retired fire chief, Nick Sahada. So now going from that life.
Well, and go back there for a minute, because you talk about mentors, and I think that it really doesn't stop. You receive a lot of mentorship as you go up. But there's also, it's really important to recognize that you have a lot to give back. Yep. And whoever that person is you take under your wing or care for, it's a very valuable and powerful relationship, and nothing to be taken for granted. I've have a wonderful relationship with Nick as an example, and many other fire chiefs from all across the nation, and firefighters, fire chiefs, fire captains, all the different ranks. Yeah. Some lifelong friends, and I think that we're always in that give and take space. Yeah. The kind of the group that I piled up with during the executive fire officer program, we're still tight. Yeah. Even just a couple weeks ago, I had an opportunity to meet up with one of them while I was out with a family vacation, and it just, we picked right up like we left off. Nice. And it's a great group that you can share some complicated situations with, and you can ask for personal advice, you can ask for career advice, and having that strong trust network it's just incredibly valuable.
Yeah. So along those lines, somewhere in there, you got involved in the Pittsburgh Metro Fools.
Well, I did. So the Pittsburgh chapter of the Metro Fools started as a result of Jim Crawford and the band of instructors that ended up traveling in a motorhome. Now, I wasn't cool enough to be part of Jim's full-time gig, but I was cool enough to do the local stuff.
Yeah, this was the RIT group.
Yeah,
right?
It was a RIT group. Yeah.
Off. Yeah.
So initially, they started the Pittsburgh chapter of the Pittsburgh Metro Fools, and at some point, Nick became the president, and I became the vice president. How exactly that happened, I'm not 100% sure. It was a little foggy back then.
Late night discussions.
Yeah, it was one of those.
Bar, yeah.
It was one of those, kind of, hey, you're up kind of thing. We ran some really awesome events together. The ultimate training weekends for anybody who participated in those back when at the former state hospital.
Yeah. So, dude, I joined the fire service in 2004. And that was like one of my first real SBSs.
Yeah.
Somebody almost died in the basement, I remember.
We had
maybe.
I would say that we had some of the best folks from across the nation come in and teach. And we had some buildings that were just incredible. And some of just even the forcible entry training that happened at that facility was second to none, right? You're not going to find a building with 4,000 heavy wood, masonry jam construction that it was like, just force as many of them as you can, right? Learn your skills, practice, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. Like that
or construction junction would come in and steal all the stuff.
Yeah. But then that led to me filling the kind of the next man up as the vice president of the president, and then subsequently Dan Stack, took over from there. And Glenn Eager and then Dan Stack.
Yeah.
So if my progression is correct. And now we have Dan Barr, who's actively involved in managing the organization and keeping the traditions going.
Absolutely. Cool. So from there, somewhere along the lines, you're a busy dude. You got involved in this Pennsylvania USAR team. I got a lot of guys in my Lebanon on it, familiar with it. I haven't joined yet. I haven't talked to me to it yet. I got to wait for these kids to get a little older. But how'd you get started with that?
So when post 9/11, there was this governor's commission on Homeland Security. So, go back to that time period, right? You had Tom Ridge was the governor and Mark Schweiker was the lieutenant governor. And on 9/11, I was working in a firehouse, and we lived that whole day, watching what was on the TV and what was going on. But I think after that, Ridge then goes to the new Department of Homeland Security as the first director of the Department of Homeland Security, and Mark Schweiker is elevated to from lieutenant governor to governor. And he lived as a lieutenant governor. You're responsible oversight for Pennsylvania emergency management, and so I think he had a very clear picture of what went on. And at the time, and rightfully so, Pennsylvania Task Force 1 was deployed from Harrisburg at the time to New York City in that initial wave of urban search and rescue team deployments to both Ground Zero and the Pentagon. So at that time, the second plane that ended up in the earth at Shanksville, he was, that flew right over Pittsburgh. I mean, that flew right, that overtake was happening right in the middle of flight over Pittsburgh. What if that plane had gone down in the city and hit another skyscraper or a large building? He recognized that there was not a second urban search and rescue task force to manage things in the Commonwealth. So he commissions this blue ribbon panel. They study a lot of things. One of the recommendations was a second urban search and rescue team in the Commonwealth. The evolution of that became a different model, wherein there was elements dispersed across the state. And mind you, that was on purpose. There was not a lot of strong technical rescue capability across the Commonwealth, with the largest of that in-state component being in southwestern Pennsylvania. So of that, and when that was stood up for a lot of reasons, Region 13 was the host entity or the prime driver of this new urban search and rescue team in southwestern Pennsylvania. And they came across an application process. And at the time, my represented organization was in Washington County, which gave me a little bit of a leg up in the competition for a coveted spot. And I was one of the inaugural team members. We went through our initial training, and just over time, I've taken on different leadership roles in that organization, starting with a training role, and now I'm the task force leader, or one of the task force leaders of the team, and we've evolved from a really raw, undeveloped system. Right? And remember, back then FEMA didn't have NIMS and ICS and definitions and resource typing definitions of teams or resources that were available. Now there are. So we've migrated. We're currently at a Type 4 team, and now with a new piece of legislation recently signed by the governor and mind you, unanimously passed through both the House and the Senate.
News.
Very rare, right? I mean, like unanimous passage in a divided legislature is very rare. So had great support for this initiative. So now we're in the phase of standing up that Type 3 urban search and rescue team. So I go back to your question. I started on the ground floor of this organization, and now
place at the right time.
Right, and I have an opportunity to lead it, and really the next phase is, all right, we get it up to this point, and then it's defining that exit plan, because I know that my career I'm in the waning years of this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, essentially been doing this for 30 years, and it's time to start looking at what's that next chapter look like, and scarily, in a lot of ways, what do you do when you're not you, right? Because you absorb this persona of emergency responder or firefighter or whatever. Right? What do you do when you're not you, and how do you make that transition? I think that's something that we as a fire service don't do the best job at, right? Because we become that entity, and now we got to.
I've seen a lot of guys struggle.
We got to find a way to transition out, right? Like
podcast.
You've earned your time, right? And you've earned your opportunity to transition out. You've earned your pension. You've earned your benefits. You've earned all those things. So now I'll go enjoy them. But how do you do that? So So boy, we keep jumping right off your script, don't we?
No, that's what I want. I want it conversational. I want to learn more about you and just go where it goes. So funny, walk me through how you go from being a Peters. Now I know why you left. Now to the city of Pittsburgh in a totally different role, right? Like you were still riding a fire truck at Peters. You were still riding an ALS engine, going to college.
Senior man.
And you wind up in the city of Pittsburgh taking, was it Tom Cook's role?
Yeah. Well, I guess officially Norm Oval took Tom Cook's role, and I took Norm's role. If that makes sense.
So now you find yourself on the other side, because when I first met you at Peters, this is just a funny story that I remember. Me and you and Nick met before a Steeler game.
Yeah.
And we took that ferry boat across the river, and there was two options for beer on the ferry boat. One was Yingling, and one was like a beat up Purple Haze. And you made me drink a beat of Purple Haze because you were like, Yingling, they don't like unions.
Yeah.
They got to make...
At the time, they had the ownership of...
He refused to let them unionize.
Right. Yeah. And now, I think now they're owned by Miller. So, but, all that's, hindsight. But
so here you are now on the admin side.
Well, look, I was a founding member of Local 4750 and the Peters Township Career Firefighters before that. And, my family, especially my grandfather, has always had a connection to labor. And I think that specific to labor and now this management role, right? Like what there has to be is a partnership, and there has to be open communication, because there are going to be times where both are in alignment and an agreement and moving in a certain direction. There'll be times where there's friction or disagreement for a lot of reasons. But those disagreements aren't like, well, I hate you now. Yeah. It's a, you understand each person's perspective, and you just gotta, man, it's just like everything. A lot of these problems can be solved just so we can communicate.
Yeah.
Right. Establish communications that are not tied to controversial subjects or opportunities. Right. We should have good relationships in advance. Then when you have those tough times or tough situations, you can navigate them really cleanly. So
having that background, I think, helps you in that role that you're in now.
Well, I think it just makes you. I think all your situations, all your experiences mold who you are. And probably way different from your 20s than you are in your 50s, right? I mean, that's just life experience. It's natural. I'm watching it with my kids, right? I mean, one who's 30 and one who's 27. They're dramatically different people than they were when they were 10 or 12. They're young adults, and they're accomplished, and they're solving problems, and they're learning from. It's actually kind of fun to watch them learn from their bumps and bruises a little bit. Like you never want to see them get hurt, but you want to let them. You want to see them evolve and
Yeah.
grow and develop.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a lot of that. Just all relationships are really driven by that, right? I mean, having that open conversation and communication that not everybody's going to like everybody. Not everybody's going to get along with everybody. But if we can sit down and talk, we can go a long way.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what, in general, society needs more of. It's instead of being polarized. Right? What happened to working in the middle? Where's that middle ground?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I come from a labor background. Local 52 of the International Association of Machinists, and then 4750, and labor's been labor organizations, and labor has been a big part. And I never forget where I came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all good stuff, man. So, like, what's the day-to-day life for Assistant Chief Kokkila in the big city?
Well, I think that the greatest way to describe that is every day you set a plan, right? Everybody kind of has a mental plan mapped out of what I'm going to accomplish in a given day. And usually by about 7:15, that plan is crumpled up, thrown in the trash. An unintended this or an unintended that has developed, and I always say it's a dynamic workplace, because you really cannot predict what's gonna come around the corner. I mean, there's maybe a little bit of prediction, like that about this time of year is budget season, and about this time of year is when people have to make decisions about retirement, and about this time of year is when the uniform check comes, right? There's some commons, there's some knowns. We expect that at this time period, people are going to be using a little more vacation. Those are the knowns. The rest of it is just completely unpredictable, or at least it feels completely unpredictable. I never thought I'd wake up and get the CAD page that says you have to go to a bridge collapse, right? Like, because that wasn't in my bingo card that year. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So,
how's Chief Davis doing down there?
he's great.
Justin?
Yeah, he's doing. I think it's really not adjusting, right? It's not. I think that happened a long time ago. He's already settled. He's settled into his groove and starting to. He's been a big welcome to come in and take some of the load off of the chief and I. There was a long period where it was just he and I.
Yeah.
And having Matt on the team it's been very positive.
So we talked about all this stuff you do. How do you handle your time management? You got a lot of shit going on. How do you organize it? Any secret software?
No, there's
paper
not
calendar.
No, it's
How do you find time for everything? I mean, you're getting pulled in a million different directions.
yeah,
for sure.
really am getting pulled in a lot of directions. And
Between personal stuff, work stuff, USAR stuff. I mean, you still a state instructor too?
I am.
Yeah.
Actually,
That-
yeah. On top of that, and what's the secret sauce? I think that you just have to prioritize and execute, right? To steal a Jockoism. I mean, but that's really what it is. You identify. You're not going to get it all done, right? It's not all ever going to get accomplished. And I guess what I'm starting to recognize is that need to have the decompression period, right, where you're not on edge. And interestingly, I've been doing a lot of. I got into listening to some podcasts while cutting grass, or working around the house, just something to listen in the background. It's not just music; it's thought provoking. Part of what I've been exploring is some of the more, and I've always been a big supporter of mental health. All right, I fully admit that I've experienced some traumatic events that have definitely impacted me, and if it had not been for the support of family and now my wife, I probably wouldn't be in the same position that I'm at today, right? But I try to learn a lot about that firefighter mentality and the impacts of our career, not just the physical, not just that, but like the mental as well. It led me down a path towards like the operator syndrome by Chris Frew, and that where operators, like special operations folk, don't necessarily exhibit all of the same signs of PTSD. It's more of it's a very specific domain tied to them, and the a lot of this journey, or a lot of this study started with experiencing the loss of a good friend to suicide, and it just the opportunity to read, and a friend of a friend handed me a book one day, and it kind of opened up, call it now, my deep dive into this, right? But Chris has now, with the help of J.D. Miller out of Canada, identified what is now termed firefighter syndrome, and I'm just scratching the surface on this, but I think there's some real value in what they're talking about at the moment. They even have an assessment, like a self-assessment, to figure that out. So, again, go back to your question: how do you manage that time? I think it's very important to have that decompression component, and for all of those reasons, right?
Yeah,
I mentioned FRU and firefighter syndrome, all those points, but the balance is really the challenge, right? My phone sometimes starts at 6 a.m. and ends. Lately, it's been tailing off. It's okay, but usually 5, 6 o'clock, right? It gets into some kind of groove, unless there's some event or some incident or some demand that happens in those.
So that's anything for you. That could be like an incident thing. That could be a personnel matter. That could be
yeah. I mean, it could be everything from, hey, we have a problem with a rig. It could be personal matter. It could be, who knows? It could be any assorted thing. It could be a multi-alarm fire. It could be any situation that kind of demands your attention. And sometimes you don't have to act, but just being aware, situation aware is a challenge, or a demand, or a draw, right? So how do you define, or how do you separate that? How do you develop the off time, right? That turn you off, where you have the edge. So I've noticed previously, if I took a 5-day vacation, I would purposely pick somewhere that was out of the country, because then I'd be too cheap to pay for the international plan, right? And that would be my excuse to unplug and disconnect. I'm finding now that, and it was wild. Like you'd feel that break, and it would be about a day and a half in, man, I hit that stage where kind of relaxed, and then you'd start ramping back up for the return. What I'm recognizing now, just with the pools, with all those different things, and mind you, I'm very happy to be involved in all these things, and I love having an impact. I love having an opportunity to help facilitate things. But those demands are real, and you need that. Maybe what you realize is that 5-day thing wasn't enough, or your level, your vessels. I say vessel, right? Now go back to the PTSI or PTSD or PTS, whatever word define it as. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't claim to understand it. I just know that it's a real thing in our world. And probably the best presentation that I had related to that occupational stress is there was a guy out of Salt Lake City, and I do not remember his name, but I'll find him.
Is he a cop?
No, he's a firefighter.
Okay.
And his discussion, or his presentation, related to that stressors in general, was defined by this large vessel in the middle of the table is in his presentation space, and there were all these little different size and different colored liquids in those clear vessels, and all different sizes of that lab hardware is what it kind of looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was doing his presentation, he just talks about, and your transmission just failed, right? He dumps it in the big vessel. When you went to this fire, or you went to this call, and there was a kid involved, or there was, and just the whole through the process of presenting, he would add that, and the goal was to demonstrate that we all have this vessel. The vessel is defined by just a whatever that space is, or volume. And you can absorb so many of these stressors, right? On or off the job. And you have to find a way you reach a point where your vessel is overflowing, right? So we need to find ways to reduce the volume of the vessel. And in that case, it's really you, and it's how much stress can you absorb before it's like, hey man, I'm going to go for a hike, or I'm going to go for a walk today, or, I'm going to not think about this for a minute. And that's that way to reduce the volume of your vessel.
So that's for you taking these trips. I mean, you just got back, you were seeing, was your son?
Yeah. I mean, that was, I don't know
Or was that another stressor?
it was not another trip. It was actually really cool to get on a hike. And I think I recognized that, hey, I really enjoy that. Why am I not doing that locally? Why did I have to go all the way to Seattle to go on a hike and remember that I like that?
Yeah.
You know, is that, maybe those are the things that you realize you get caught up on. It important, but you need to have that break or that separation. And whether that hobby is woodworking or fishing or going for a hike or playing table tennis, I don't care what your hobby is, right? You got to have something that's separated from the job. And boy, that's I guess that's the drive home, right? Along with that, and it comes not just from me feeling that way. It's coming from research. It's coming from trying to figure out what's that next move. What's the next thing that takes the pressure out of my vessel. I do, yeah. I bought my hunting license. I'm ready to go.
All right, good.
I actually kind of got into long range accuracy shooting, so I don't get to spend as much time on it as I'd like to, but I've been working with a rifle and trying to find the right mix of cartridge, load, bullet weight, primer, everything to get. And I'm trying to drive accuracy at 400 yards, right? Like when I watch some of my buddies that can shoot incredibly accurate at those distances, I'm like, I'm jealous, and that's what I want. And I'm not nearly as good as they are. Boy, it's just really neat to watch and to learn how to drive that precision. It's curiosity. It's taking a machine and taking it apart, put it back together, and understanding all those things. Yeah. That's a hobby. I've been thinking a little more about going for a hike. Those kind of things is what's on my brain. My wife and I seem to do a fair amount of traveling, and I think that's important for both of us. She likes to travel. I like the break, and it's a great chance for us to both be away from the demands of life and
absolutely,
go have a little experience.
So what's going on in the city? Anything new? Hiring anytime soon?
Well, I would say that there's a lot happening in the city. We've got a lot of challenges. We have a lot of successes, and probably the biggest one for your audience, or what we presume is going to be your audience, is the change in residency requirement for hiring. And boy, that's really going to change what was that legacy thoughts on the Bureau, right? You had to be a city resident. Well, you don't have to be a city resident. And I really think it's going to expand. It's going to expand our applicant pool. And I would say we are going to impact, we have the potential to impact positively or negatively a lot of the fire service in Western Pennsylvania, because our footprint for
I looked at that map.
It's a very large. I mean, it's a big
damn near live in Butler.
You can live in Butler. You can, and
it's a 60-minute drive time, right? Is that what it's based on?
Yeah, 60-minute travel time from I believe the city county building, but. I mean, it's a very broad footprint that you can live in. And I think that what's going to happen is we're going to pull a lot of great talent.
That's amazing.
It'll create opportunity where perhaps people were reluctant to move to the city because maybe they were settled in their community.
Yeah. Now we talking briefly before we started recording, but 2004-ish, 2005, when I was potentially looking at career fire jobs, that was, I think, one, they weren't hiring, but there was also the residency. I mean, I had friends, they were living with their grandma for a few months, so they applied or this or that, or trying to buy an apartment, and then 6 months would go by and there wasn't a test. Screw it, if I'll move back, and sure. It was just a much difficult time. So now I think that'll definitely help you.
Yeah, no, I just think it's gonna pull. We're gonna steal all the best talent.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I really do. I think we're gonna. But look at, or you go back to 2004. Look at how many other opportunities for career fire job exist in Western Pennsylvania now.
Yeah,
I mean, even some of the stipend programs, I don't anticipate that's going to last for a long time. I think that it's all going to naturally make a transition to a strong combination model. I think it's going to take some work, but it is achievable. I know there's some initial conversations that are kind of batting around in greater Allegheny County circles about what could or what would that look like. And I really think that we're on that cusp of change.
Yeah.
For a region with people aren't going to have to leave the greater Pittsburgh area to go to Virginia or Maryland or even further south for that fire job. I think those fire jobs are naturally going to occur more and more frequently in communities that were previously fully serviced by a volunteer fire service. Like it's coming.
It's coming. And I mean, you see, there's studies being done in all these communities. I think there's some municipal leadership being more aware of what's going on that maybe wasn't as transparent before.
Well, just look at the 19 corridor from the city of Pittsburgh to the city of Washington. We'll call them the bookends, right? Where you have two career fire services. But the entirety of that stretch, with the exception of this small little piece in Bethel Park, they've transitioned to a combination model. Some more aggressively than others, but that entire corridor is an example of kind of where things are going to go.
Yeah. We had, I think April 29th, we had all those storms roll through, and Lebo was pretty busy. In the middle of it, there was a high-rise fire, smoke in the building sort of thing. And we had a Peters ladder truck in Mount Lebanon Station. There you go.
Right. I mean, and would that have been normal 25 years ago?
No.
Not even, it'd be unheard of almost.
Yeah.
And now it's just, there's a lot more demands on families, dual incomes, a lot more activities for kids that I think, and I'm not going to call this a negative, but the next generation, right, of I guess, what am I, Gen Z or
old shithead?
Yeah, I remember the rotary phone, and I remember buying, in my early 20s with a cell phone, right? Yeah. I mean, that was when I got mine.
Yeah.
Not when I was 10. But the next generation, I even watch it with my kids, they have a lot more focus towards experience and outside, like they have a better appreciation of work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to, not just their appreciation of work-life balance, they're okay with paying for it, right? For that work-life balance, yeah. Whether that be a lesser salary, lesser advancements. They actually have a better perspective, I think, than my generation, and the previous generation. Like, it's overtime? Yes, I will take that. Please, I will not turn that down.
I was like the first person. I'm 39. So I got hired in Lebo in 2012. And I was the first person they'd hired in like 6 years. And like the age gap was tremendous. And I remember I was 26 years old. The first couple of years, all these older guys, they were like, why aren't you taking that overtime? There's a shift next week. Why aren't you signing up for it? I was like, well, I don't know. I'm probably going to go to the bar and drink with my friends. There was other things to do. Like I was living my life. I got to work next week. Generationally from me down, I noticed that a lot more now. Yeah. I mean, now that I have a family and I have kids, that shifts a little bit.
Sure.
But definitely I agree with that sentiment that the younger generation appreciates their time outside the firehouse a lot more.
They do. And that means that we have to work harder to get them to want to be at the firehouse, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not when they're there, they'll work their dicks off.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're fantastic. But
I mean, and it's interesting. They can make a computer fly around a room.
Mm-hmm.
But I notice, and this is not a detractor, but they maybe don't understand the ratchet and the screwdrivers and some of those basic hand tools as much. And I noticed it with my son, right? When he was growing up, he wanted to see what was going on. Right? Mind you, they're step kids, but they're my kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember taking a lawnmower engine apart with him and, teaching him about tools and those things that were, I felt like basic skills, but he didn't know them. He wasn't going to naturally know them. Somebody had to show him those pieces and parts and, how this drill works or how this ratchet works or how I don't know, don't use that end of the use the wrench like this, or use just those natural hand skills. They'll fix my computer and make my cell phone work, because I don't get it. But and I'll change their or I'll adjust their carburetor if there's even a carburetor left somewhere in the world.
Lawnmowers stuff.
Yeah, well,
before they're electric.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. So we kind of talked about it briefly, but you kind of see this change happening in Western PA, you think, with moving to a different model? Because, I mean, there's clearly some discrepancies, right? I mean, we're seeing some events where fire service response isn't maybe where it could have been. And the stresses put on people, I mean, are driving numbers down. I mean, there's just everything kind of compiles on top of one another, and before we realize that there needs to be something done.
All right, I should say that this is my personal opinion, my personal view of the world in front of us.
There'll be a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode.
Western Pennsylvania, Allegheny County. I just think that naturally we have, and I can't remember what that commission was, who came in and looked at Allegheny County's fire service and said that there were more pumpers and more ladder trucks in Allegheny County than there was in the entirety of the New York City Fire Department. Truck salesmen are really happy, by that metric. I think that the Commonwealth system of government, where each small community has their own backhoe, their own tow behind air compressor. Everyone has their own public works department, and for a long time their own dispatch center, and their own police department, I think that what we're going to see is a natural fold in of some of the municipalities, just because of there's an efficiency opportunity through consolidation or collaboration. I think that in the future we will see more consolidation of fire service. And maybe not everybody needs to own a reserve engine. Maybe we can share one between, however many communities. That might be a little more fiscal responsibility. That might take some of the demand off of the folks that are not only responding to calls, but then, whatever fundraising activity they're doing to fund their operation. I see more municipal involvement, which is great. But with municipal involvement it includes natural, more oversight, more recognition of an opportunity for collaboration, and even purchasing power, right? So if the municipalities are able to line up and do some cooperatives on different fire service tools, or if we could standardize a pumper, right? I mean, there'd be a natural opportunity for folks to save some money, right? So,
but that has to come from within, right? Because as you talked about, but it being a Commonwealth, all those tiny municipalities still have the authority.
Sure.
So nobody's going to come in and tell you, hey.
No, I mean that's the beauty in the as a Commonwealth, as a community in a Commonwealth, you could decide that if you have the tax base and you can afford it, you essentially have anything that you want, right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to have 10 swimming pools, not one community swimming pool. I want to have 10. If you can afford it, God love you. You can have the freedom to do that. And go back to William Penn and that movement, that desire for what created our Commonwealth that we live in, right? And the system of government. But I see some natural inefficiencies in that, and I think as we lose that volunteer workforce, that you will see more consolidation, more collaboration, and supplementation by career folks, and it's all gonna be a little bit different. But I think that when you do that, it's a fine line to walk between that authorities model versus the natural protections that you receive as an Act 111 applicable collective bargaining employee. So that's going to be the we'll call it the hurdle that I see coming.
Because a lot of these townships that are doing that are hiring the people as township employees, correct?
Well, when you look at just the insurance rates
Yeah.
for a volunteer fire department versus adding a career firefighter,
Yeah.
your insurance rates go dramatically higher. I don't know why. I don't understand that. That's an insurance rater's job. I just know it's a figure that you see. I just naturally see that the future is in some kind of a career delivery model, and truthfully, the devil's going to be in the details of how do you manage those employees. I'm nervous about the Authorities Act because it has the potential to strip away some of those collective bargaining rights that have been in place for, over a century now. And, firefighting is not an easy job. As I plan for my PRP injection in my meniscus in my knee, and I go to the chiropractor.
It's not an old man's game, right?
It's not an old man's game, right? And naturally, you used to leave this job at 50 and 55. 20 years of it, it was time for you to go away because the things we're exposed to, just the chemicals has dramatically changed. And now, add in that, we'll call it the mental health component that we're starting to finally recognize is an issue in our business. I think that the labor side of that has done a phenomenal job to protect us, to protect our industry, and finding a way to hit that balance with municipal employees. I also don't think it makes a lot of sense for a single township or burg or borough or whatever to do this on their own. They need to find there's a huge opportunity in collaboration and a regional delivery model. No, define the region. That's not up to me, right? But if it's, the West Hills region or the North Hills region, or maybe the county as a focus, as a region, I don't know what that's going to look like. More in our future involves career combination models of service delivery for the communities.
So how long have you been in the city now?
Oh, boy. I'm coming into the end of my 7th year. And end of the 7th year with the city. I actually started the Monday after the Tree of Life shooting. So when I stepped into the city, it was just, I give Chief Jones, I give Chief Jones a ton of credit because he was, he has this new assistant chief, and on that Saturday before, he has this international event that occurs, and I'm the new guy standing there on Monday morning with, and that transition, I stepped right into the frying pan, right? From day one, right into the frying pan. And it's been full throttle ever since.
Still liking it?
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what else I would like to do. This is just, I feel like it's become who I am. This service delivery. And I think, I transitioned from, maybe I should have brought this up earlier when you asked that natural leading question that I kind of dropped the ball on. But, my transition from a field guy, understanding what it's like to put your hands on a hose and throw a ladder. And now it's my job to make sure that everybody has all of the tools, talents, and resources that they need to go out and do the job, and serve Mrs. Smith or Mr. Jones or whoever that citizen or somebody who needs our help is. So also my background in Little Peters Township, where we changed an axle in a fire truck or did all of our own maintenance, helps me understand the industry better, helps me understand fleet management better. I can extract a little more uptime out of vehicles to keep my guys in current, modern, as best equipped and maintained vehicles as we can afford to keep them in. So again, that whole great circle back to your.
You miss that part of it all? You miss running a fire truck? You miss being out in the street?
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, who doesn't really miss that part? That's what we cut our teeth on. And
So you're telling me in Texas you're still working out of 4?
Yeah,
'Cause you have an office on Railroad Street.
I've got an office and headquarters, and then I'm filling in currently as the in the role of what would be the deputy fire chief for the city. So each traditionally we had a deputy fire chief on each line. So I'll take in fact, tomorrow I start I'll do a 24, and boy, it's great to be back.
Gets you back in that firehouse.
Back in a firehouse, right?
Yeah.
And you miss that. You miss that connection, those conversations, those the meals, the time spent together. There's a disconnect when you go into the administration side that it leaves a hole almost in your soul, right? Like that back to the connection back to the field is important, where you have to do that transition, right? Like somebody needs to be the administrative side of things, and that's absolutely necessary. Somebody has to do the budget. Somebody has to think forward with a life cycle of equipment. What resources do these guys need to be efficient and effective at their job, and provide them the best protection, provide them the tools and the talents and the resources that they need to go out and deliver the service. When being back in the firehouse, it's tough to do that and your administrative role, but I'm really grateful for that opportunity to connect.
Nobody like spits in your food or anything?
No, I hope not. They don't let me cook. I did burn the garlic bread one night. I finished a couple meals. I've not screwed up the mashed potatoes. I've done my dishes. They really great group of guys that you get that opportunity to connect with, and little things like they even have a picnic table for this set of squirrels that come and visit, and to watch them do the AI generation of pictures of the squirrel and making them kind of their mascot it's really neat to watch. And just like that, when the tones hit or the dispatch occurs, they're dropping what they're doing right out the street and solving a problem, coming back, and that natural cycle is really great to watch.
Cool, man. Well, we'll wrap it up with a good question for you. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? Could be fire service related, could be life in general. Got any good words of wisdom?
Man.
Coming up on just over an hour, so we're good.
Okay. The best piece of advice. So many, many years ago, a guy said to me, in the end of the day, at the end of your life, if you have the opportunity to count on one hand 5 true friends, you would be one of the most lucky individuals on the planet. At the time, I didn't appreciate the value of that statement. And I don't mean that to sound in a negative, because people come in and out of our lives and they impact our lives, right? So it's okay. Like when you're in grade school, it's easier to have that natural friend because you all are on the same schedule. You're all living the same lives. You're all eating lunch at the same time. And there's pockets that you naturally align with. And as you grow up, maybe it's your college years where you're living with people, or you're in a sorority or fraternity or a friend group. And then as you continue to evolve, people come into your lives, and maybe you don't ever forget that friendship that's over here, but you develop that new relationship. So, boy, tough example to circle back around, but like I consider my best friend is Brother Ed. Brother Ed's been with me since 2nd grade, right? I always have him to count on. There have been people in my life along the way who were absolutely valuable, but naturally have drifted apart. And I see the wisdom in that statement, right? So along the path, you're going to meet folks. You're going to have those relationships. You're going to have those friendships, and it's okay to drift apart and then come back together in that reunion style of fashion.
Yeah.
And accepting that friendships come and go, but don't necessarily go. Right? We may not be in communication every day of the week. We may not talk every Friday, but we still have that connection. Boy, I'm making absolutely
No, dude, I get it. Dude, I just played hockey last weekend with the guy that was the best man at my wedding. He's my best friend growing up, but he's got kids now. He's got a family. I got a kid. He lives in Seven Fields. I live in Mount Lebanon. I mean, we see each other on average once a year. And we make
but
the
you
best
immediately pick right
Absolutely.
right up where you left.
Yep, absolutely.
And maybe what I'm trying to drive at is the value in life is in the relationships, and it's in the connections that we develop. And it's, I'm no social scientist. I just listen and I read a little bit here and there. I mean, those are natural things that drive hormones and synapses to connect and increase our happiness. Relationships are really what drives the world. There's a lot of things that you can get done by yourself, but boy, there's so much more you can accomplish when you have open, honest, natural agreement, disagreement, even sometimes controversy, but that communication is what is critical to making relationships successful and you as an individual successful, right? And success can be measured in a lot of ways. It can be measured in, career success and monetary success. And in the end of the day, I'd much rather have the relationship success and the friendship success, and that group of people that care about you, and want to help you succeed, and you want to help them succeed. Those are what I find to be the most valuable pieces along that path. So,
Amen, brother.
So, sorry,
I got you.
I've done that to you a couple times with these great big circles of dropping things together and trying to tie them back together. I guess we'll find from your listeners whether or not this is
made sense
those statements are successful.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a good time. It's been good.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I wish you all the success with your podcast.
If anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of old Brian Kokkila? Not that you need more people reaching out to you.
I probably do not. But,
send him a message on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of ways to track me down.
Yeah.
I'm existing on a lot of web places, and the Facebook is always an opportunity.
Cool, man. Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you again, and
stay safe out there.
Best of luck.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
That's a wrap.